you to listen attentively to what Dr. Margaret Chin has to say. She is the expert. And yes, and at the end of the session, you will be given a chance to ask questions. Yes, to ask your questions. And we realize that there are other concurrent sessions happening and other sessions happening. So persons probably will be on shortly, but we will eventually have to begin. But before our presenter gets on, I would like to introduce to you our presenter for this afternoon, Dr. Margaret Chin. Dr. Margaret Chin is the Assistant Secretary General in charge of professional services at the Jamaica Teachers Association. Dr. Chin holds a doctorate in education from the University of Sheffield in England, an honors degree in school counseling from Western Carolina University, USA, and a master's degree with distinction in special education from Nova Southeastern University, also in the United States of America. She received her teaching certification from the then Michael Teachers College. She has also received several awards for her work in the field of education and research. Dr. Chin has nearly 2 decades of experience as a classroom teacher and a guidance counselor. She has worked at the early childhood, primary, high school, and tertiary levels. Dr. Chin has been conducting in-service training workshops for teachers for many years, both locally and in the Caribbean. She has worked as education consultant on several projects with international agencies such as USAID, Center of Excellence for Teaching Training, CETT, and the European Union, EU. And before she gets on, I would like to just go through the abstract, for the presentation. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused educators to adapt many of the strategies they would use in the traditional classroom to promote reading skills. Virtual learning often requires students to work more independently than they are accustomed to. So as their teachers, we need to adjust the ways we help them read instructional text. We therefore have to provide them with the necessary tools to understand those texts in new ways. In this presentation, participants will be exposed to reading strategies that they can adapt to teach students during synchronous and asynchronous learning. These strategies will help students to better understand the text and content they need for their coursework, assignments, and indeed through their lives. Now, everybody sit back and enjoy the rest of the presentation. And remember that you will be given an opportunity to ask the experts questions. All right. Now, Dr. Chin, welcome, and the floor is yours after I get your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you so much, Sharika. It is such a pleasure being here. Even though we're in the virtual space, it is such a pleasure to be in this awesome group of teachers and educators. As was mentioned, we're going to be looking at adapting reading instruction. Unfortunately, and those of you who know my style of presentation and doing workshops, it's very hands-on. COVID has somewhat restricted that, but we're going to be, and it's a good thing because now we're going to have to adapt the way we present our material. So we're going to be starting. Sharika is going to be sharing the screen for me and assisting me. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn off my camera because sometimes, and we're in special education, sometimes it's important for us to help the children to concentrate on the screen than on our faces, depending on what we're teaching. So I'm going to just turn this off just a little. I'll be in and out. Good. So as you can see, we are going to be adapting reading instruction for the virtual classroom. So let's get into what we'll be looking at today. These are some of the things that hopefully we'll be able to achieve by, I was told I have until 2 o'clock, but I'm sure they'll give us a couple minutes after. So we're going to learn how to intentionally adapt tools. And these are virtual tools that we're going to be looking at in our classrooms. Provide online tools that can support students as they become increasingly independent, and teach learners reading strategies they can use for their assignments, for coursework, and of course, throughout their lives. So those are some of the things that we want to achieve today. But before we go into that, we are going to do a warm-up activity. It doesn't really involve bending and stretching. If Sharika can go to the next slide for me, it's going to involve some visual perceptual skills. Very important skill for reading. And all you need to do for me is to find the 8 differences in the 2 pictures that you're seeing. You can use the chat to just write your answer. Sharika is going to keep note for me of the persons who got all 8. There are 8 differences with the 2 pictures. Look at them and tell me them. Use your visual perceptual skills, a very important skill that you have to use in reading. Anybody found anything yet? You can type it in the chat. Nobody so far? Ah, I see some here. Great. Yes. But I want to see you listing 8. So the yellow chickens, instead of the eggs, somebody said the cobweb. Somebody said the nail. Very good. Somebody said the rake versus the shovel. The mouse is in a different direction. Excellent. The hat is missing from the haystack. Anything else? Ah, blue versus green area in the window. So one is showing daytime, one is showing nighttime with the stars. I see Annette wrote the eggs, the hat, the mouse, the spider, the web, the nail of, oh gosh, she didn't get all 8. But basically all of you have covered the 8, but not 8 at one time. So it's the cobweb in the corner of the left picture. That one is missing in the right. The spider is on the haystack on the right, but missing on the left. The yellow chickens are on the right, and the egg is on the left. The eggs are on the left, I'm so sorry. The hat is on the haystack on the left, but not on the right. The stars loss. As we said, daytime and nighttime through the window. The rake is on the right, but the shovel on the left, or a spade, depending on what you want to call it. The rat is in a different position. And the nail, 1 in the first picture and 2 in the second picture. So we just did a little visual perceptual activity. And this is a very important reading skill. And so we just did one of the strategies that we can help children in terms of developing their visual perceptual skills. So let's talk a little bit on online learning and reading. Now, online learning often requires students to work more independently than they're used to. And the hot button topic now is learning loss. You may have been hearing a lot about it. And this is one of the reasons that many students are experiencing learning loss, because the online learning requires students to work more independently than they're used to having their teacher in front of them. And so because of that, we have to adjust the way that we help children to read. Now, the traditional way of reading would have had the students in front of us. We would have been able to hear them reading. We'd be able to make our vocabulary cards. We'll be able to do all kinds of activities with them in person. Because we are now in the virtual space, it's going to be different for our students. And I was in a discussion yesterday. We were talking about the whole thing with learning loss, and there's so many variables we can look at. Yes, connectivity is a big part of it, but we have to also look at children's reading level. Some children were struggling before COVID last year, and they're struggling even more because of their low reading skills. And that will impact interest, because if they can't manage and they can't keep up, then they're going to lose interest and find other things to do. So connectivity and internet and so on are just as small, and having a device is just one part of the mix, but we also have to think about the struggles, the internal struggles that children face, because reading really requires some amount of that. Can we go back to the first slide, please, Sharika, to the one that we had before? Right. So we have to adjust. We all know that reading is an act of constructing meaning. And so if the child is struggling with the reading task, then whatever it is that he's reading is not making any sense to him. So whenever we give the students the materials to read, we need to provide them with the certain tools that will help them to understand the text. I'm assuming that as teachers in the room here, we have been using the text provided by the Ministry of Education, or it could be their reading material that they would have been using before COVID. The tools that we are providing is not to take away from the reading material that they presently have. It's really to enhance what they already have been using before COVID. So we have to provide them with the necessary tools to understand the text that not only are they using online, but the text that they have in terms of hardcover paper material. All right, let's continue. And persons still are writing in the chat about the visual perceptual activity. Great job, guys. Great job, Anita. Anisha, doing well. Great. So let's continue. All right. So in online learning, here is the thing, teachers. We have to carefully communicate the purpose of reading. Children, because of the online platform that we're in, many of them will lose interest. And so every time we have that class with them, we have to carefully communicate why we are doing what we're doing. Because our goal is to help them to understand the text and content. And I'm not just talking about students now in the primary school, we're also talking about students in high school who may have low levels of reading. So we have to carefully communicate to them the purpose of reading. We should also teach the reading strategies explicitly. Explicitly in this context means you literally have to model and show them how the strategy works. Again, we don't have them face to face, but we have them virtually. It's like, oh, you're seeing me through the camera and so on. We have to model it for them and teach it to them explicitly. So we can teach the reading skills during synchronous learning as preparation for reading that occurs during the asynchronous learning episode. We can also use our learning management system, and we can use these systems to create gateway activities so that students can complete any pre-reading activity that you may have prepared for them before they actually start to read the text that will make the main part of your lesson, especially for those persons who are in the secondary school setting. So you can use your learning management system. And I've been able to be a part of many of the presentations from this morning. And funny enough, a lot of what we're going to be discussing were talked about in previous presentations. All right, so I'm going to take you now into a little historical context, into theoretical context, I should say, into reading, and the strategies are going to be embedded. So it's just the big five is just to remind you that reading is a scaffolding type of construct. Children have to learn phonemic awareness, phonological awareness, and we're going to be looking at that. Then they go into, as they get older, they learn phonics knowledge. It helps these, and if you can think of Maslow, I like to use the Maslow analogy where Maslow says if those basic foundational needs are not met, you can't get to the top and self-actualize. The same thing here. If children have not mastered phonological awareness and phonemic knowledge and so on, reading fluency will be an issue. They also need to develop a wide vocabulary in their repertoire. And all of these ultimately will aid in comprehension. So I gave you this, we call these the big five of reading skills. So we're going to get into the whole meat of things, and we're going to start with activating prior knowledge. And again, I'm going to ask you to use the chat. What do we mean by activating prior knowledge? Quickly, somebody type that in for me. What do we mean by activating prior knowledge? Quickly, I know some fingers are typing away. What do we mean by activating prior knowledge? Pull on what students know. Excellent. Anything else? Brainstorm to find out what they already know. My next question is, why is this so important? Why is it important for us to pull on what children know before? Why is it important to tap into what students know about a topic or a reading episode? Good, Samantha said it perfectly, to help them make connections. And not only that, to pick up any gaps. Because for me to understand a story about seagulls, I have to at least know what a seagull looks like. And so I take that, go back to Piaget. I have to take that schema of the seagull into the context of what I'm going to be reading. And so we have to pull on children's prior knowledge. And here's a way that we can do it. We can improve reading comprehension when we take time to connect that new knowledge, schema, to existing knowledge. So Piaget was onto something when he spoke about that. So we can use things like the online whiteboard. I don't know if some of you came across that in your sessions, but the online whiteboard, excellent. And I think further down the presentation, some websites are there that you can use. And on those online whiteboards and bulletin boards, you can create mind maps KWL charts. So you don't have to find it as a PDF. You can actually go into whiteboards or go into bulletin boards, virtual whiteboards, and actually create those mind maps and KWL charts for the children before you even. So we're doing seagulls. A KWL chart, ask them what they know about seagulls. Has anybody ever heard the term seagulls? What do they think it is? That kind of stuff. You can also take children on virtual field trips. And I love this one in particular because many children don't get the chance to go on even real life field trips. So you can take them on a virtual field trip and expose them to the concept that you're going to be teaching virtually. You can take them to the zoo, you can take them to the farm. In the primary curriculum, they may be doing things on goods and services and so on. You can take them on a virtual trip to the market, that kind of stuff. So virtual field trips are very good. Virtual gallery walks, and I think I have a website for that. I can show you as a virtual gallery walk, playlists, choice boards, and these tools can build essential background knowledge that will help the children and spark their curiosity. And I was saying to someone just last week that in a way COVID has been a blessing because COVID has opened up opportunities for us in the classroom in the virtual space that we can take children into a fantasy world that is just unimaginable. So take them on virtual field trips, take them on virtual gallery walks, give them choice boards, and this will help to build the essential background that they need. Go back to Piaget, who spoke about schemas. Schemas are so important. So instead of you standing up in front of the class and talking, and you can just take them on a field trip, give them the experience of a gallery walk, and help to pull and build on that background. Google also has polling features. Zoom and some other platforms have the polling features, Google Forms. And so you can use them as what we call anticipation guides, and that can graphically display the students' responses and so on. So it's important before you even start to begin that activity to do that with the students. Sharika, I don't know if you can click on this link for me. Whiteboard.fi, nice site. You'll be able to get the presentation so you guys can try it out. But that's a really great website you can use when you want to create your whiteboard, and you can do all kinds of fabulous stuff with your whiteboard. All right, great. Let's move along. Can you go back to the slide before, Shariko? Let's click on that for me, please. I hope it can open. No, go back up. There's a video. Go back. Yeah, this one. You can double click. I hope it plays. Yeah, go back on that one and click it. Oh, it's not coming up?
No, it's not allowing.
Oh, it's not allowing you to. All right, okay. But you can stay on this one. Go back to it, even though you can't. The interactive live board, very good. Again, you can use it with your students to activate prior knowledge. It allows you to do all kinds of interactive videos with the students. I encourage you to just Google it. Just type in live board. There's a free version and there's a version that you have to pay. I think it's like $9 for a month or something like that, but it's not very expensive, and it can take multiple teachers. So the live board is, I like it. It's very exciting. You can use it with the students. All right, Let's go to the next one. So earlier I showed you the big five, and I want us to go all the way back, because when you check the issues that students have with reading, it all goes back to phonics and phonological awareness. Even if they're adolescents, it goes all the way. The root of the problem can be traced all the way back to phonics and phonological awareness. And this really is about sounds and letter relationships and how they're used in reading and writing. That's basically what it is. So but phonological awareness, there's really no talk of letters. It's really just about sounds. And here is it. For us to really master reading, we have to learn the sounds of the language. And again, if I was in front of you guys, you know me already, the teacher in me, I'd be asking you, how many sounds are in the English language? And there are 44 sounds. We call them phonemes. And so children have to master the sound system in the language, because that is the key that unlocks words that we read. And so phonics really has to do with the knowledge of the sounds and the letter relationship, but the phonological awareness part is extremely crucial, because it's the sound system that the children depend on to learn. They listen for the sound. And I should pause here, because you will be going on, you'll be using a lot of digital tools and stuff that talks about, that helps you with phonological awareness and stuff with sounds. Use them carefully, because remember, the American system has an accented thing to their sounds. So we have to be careful how we help the children to navigate both. So the sound system is important, and that's why I want to start here, because it's important that children master the sound system. Why is phonics difficult for some children? I did this because when you're teaching children phonics and phonological awareness, you're literally teaching them the English language. And the English language consists of 26 letters of the alphabet that gives you different sounds. So for instance, the C and the G will give you soft sound depending on which phoneme is beside it. So these ones that I picked out, these letters, tend to be simple to learn. The name of the letter is similar to the sound it makes. So for instance, you have the B, but notice the similarity when you say it. So it's almost the same. So I recommend that when you are doing your online activities with the children, start with initial sounds and letter names that are very simple, because the name of the letter is similar to the sound that it makes. So you can go ahead and find different things, but this is my recommendation, that you can start with letters that are similar both in the sound it makes, and it will help the children along the way. All right. Ending sounds. Another activity, another strategy in terms of what you can do. So you're going to be teaching letter association, F, L, M, and R, and so on. X, these letters get a little more difficult because the sound is like the ending of the letter name. So when I say M, what you're actually hearing is an E sound at the beginning, and it ends with M. So it's M. So when I make the sound of M, I hear mm. So come again. So the ones I give you here, the ending of it actually is the letter name. So I'll point, and you can have the child click or whatever. M. So when I say M, that's what the child is hearing, M. So the end of it is actually the letter name. So when I make the sound of M, you're hearing M. In terms of letter association again, You can also try no sound related to letter name. So H, Q. You notice how these have no association. So because the sound of these letters are not related to the sound of the name at all. So Y makes a Y sound. But listen when we say it, it says why. There is absolutely no relationship. So you say Y, but when we actually say the letter, we say why, why. So this is why students often write what they literally hear. And so it can be confusing. That's what I'm saying. When you're doing your strategy, be careful how you present it. Look at W. Some children say W, some say W, but the sound is not related to the letter name. You would have hope we're learning stuff so far. Great. But if you want, you can write in the chat as well if something clicks at you and so on. In terms of letter associations, again, one sound is included in the name. So soft C, and it doesn't have the K. So English, as I said, can be very confusing. So these two letters, for instance, make two sounds. So you can see how this might be difficult for young children to master. So C, depending on what phoneme again. So if you have A following it, of course, you're going to get the K sound. But if you have E, it's going to give you a softer sound. So scent, center, cat, gate, gem. So it can be confusing for children. So when you are teaching, so it's the same approach you're going to be taking in the in-person classroom teaching, but I'm bringing this to your attention when you're doing it in an online environment. So you have to, the strategy, you have to be careful how you do teach some of these. So then how can you adapt phonics in your classroom? So the children need to be active and not just filling out worksheets. Because, you know, in the face-to-face, normally when they're finished with an activity, you give them a worksheet to fill out and so on. You can be taught by doing these things every day. First of all, you have to transfer whatever they have learned into writing. So even though you teach a letter sound and the name and so on, you have to represent it graphically for the children. So encourage them to write. Encourage them to write daily. Of course, they can sing songs. You find a whole heap on YouTube. Many of you have been doing that when you were doing your face-to-face teaching anyway, because you have to be integrating technology into your lessons. So you would have been familiar with integrating the YouTubes and so on. All of that. You can do your class charts. I saw some this morning in some of the presentations. You can create them online. There are two digital tools out there that will help you to create charts and so on. So you can use these to help your children to learn phonics. All right, so the children now know their letters and they may know the letter names and so on. What then do you teach? So let's see where you move on from there. So they're now getting a little bit older, or they have mastered some sounds and can put them together and string them into words and so on. What next do you now teach? Let's move on to that one. Consonant blends. And those who sat in Mrs. Bailey's session this morning, she would have exposed you to the University of Florida. They're doing a research and they've created a whole lot of online learning material. And she may have exposed you to what is called the blending board, where you can, you know, drop letters and help the children to blend and so on. So blends and digraph charts, you can put those in the space for the children. The key is that when you break apart the phonemes, you can hear each sound. And that's important when you're teaching the strategy to the children. So for instance, with float, you hear the F and the L, and she did an activity like that this morning where she put the initial and the end sound, but the child blends the letters together and so on. So it is very important that once the students can identify most letters and sounds, you can now move them into blending. And the blending board is actually free. You can go on the university's website and pull it down. All right, the UFly website. Great. So you have now taught some blends. You can now move to digraphs. And of course, digraphs are two consonant sounds, or it can be vowel sounds that appear together and represent a single sound that is different from either letter. So, you know, CH as in chair, TH as in thumb, SH as in shoe, PH as in phone. So digraphs, however, are different from blends because they only make one sound. So for instance, when C and H. So you can, again, you can use interactive digital tools to help the children to see someone asked about, I'm going to put it in the chat when I'm finished, about the blended board. Really fabulous. It's really, really nice. You'll really enjoy using it. It's very interactive. The children just use their mouse and click, or you can put the things together. It's very good if you're using one-on-one instruction. There are some students who are struggling. You can do it one-on-one with the children. You can send the link to their parents so the parents can do activities with them on their own and so on. So I'll send the link for the blending board for you. All right. So you have taught your letters, you have taught the sounds, you have taught the letter relationship with the sounds. You are now, the child has now blended, he knows his digraph. Then you can move now into diphthongs. And diphthongs really are just the combination of two vowel sounds that produce a unique gliding sound. So for instance, boy, you have OY, OI, OU, EW, AW, and this is a sentence that was put together to kind of bring out all of the diphthongs. You can present it like this. You can present them as letter cards for the children to move around and make it into a sentence. They can do rhyming. So you have, let's take for instance the word loud. You can do proud, cloud, and so on. So you can, let's go back, Sharika. You can present a sentence like this, cut it up into cards. They can do, as I said, they can do rhymes and so on. But it's important, and I hope you're seeing the order in which we're teaching the phonics part with the children. All right, so let's continue. So we move from diphthongs, to onset and rhymes. And notice it's R-I-M-E and not the RH1. The RH1 is the actual activity. So onset really, it's in a syllable, it's the part that comes before the vowel. The rhyme is the ending part, and of course, you have heard about word family. And these are really just words that are connected to the rhyme. So you might have the at family, the AT family, sorry, at. You can have the in family. You can have the AR family, all kinds. So the children get an opportunity to do onset and rhymes, and you can use the digital tools again to assist them with that. All right. Let's continue. And I put here a little chart of the 37 most frequently occurring rhymes. The most frequently occurring rhymes. And as you can see, we can also call them word family. And actually, you can get up to 500 words out of these 37 rhymes. Amazing. 500. So we have moved from phonological awareness, phonics, and we're now getting into vocabulary. Because by now, the children should be making words, building their vocabulary, have a whole heap of words in their receptive language, expressive language skills so that they can use them. So our approach to vocabulary will shift depending on the instructional goal, depending on the needs of the students that we have. So for instance, if content is key, and this might be important for upper primary into secondary, we may need to adapt the digital text to students' reading levels. And all we need to do is probably hyperlinking definitions. And then we can embed context clues into the digital text or by using the digital platform. So come again, so you can hyperlink definitions. So when they click on it and they see a particular word, they just click and they'll see the definition of that word. So they don't have to go run to their dictionary to find the meaning of the word. They can actually hyperlink it. And these are just some websites that you can take the children to. Common Lit, ReadWork, Tween Tribune, and that's one of the Tween Tribune works. It's a nice website for the teenagers, the young ones. Some really great books and stuff are on that platform. So you can differentiate the different texts based on the students' reading level that they have. So that's a nice tool that you can use to adapt the vocabulary depending on the type of children who you have with you. So you can hyperlink some of the words and they just click and they see the meaning of the particular word. So when texts feature critical words that the students must master, here are some things that we can use. Go back again to your digital bulletin boards. Those can work. And again, guys, just go into Google search engine and just type in digital bulletin boards. A whole lot are there for you to choose from. Online whiteboards, and you can use this to make your word wall, your concept sort. You can sort your concept, do your mapping. Remember a while ago when we were doing the diphthongs and we had that nice sentence, you can chop them up, put them in your word wall. The children can do some rhyming with the different words and so on. We have good old Google Docs, a lifesaver, I tell you. Kami, we can use Kami to create the Freya model. I'm sure many of you have heard of the Freya model. You have seen me use it before in my presentations. That's a very good one as well. You can use the Kami also for to make a vocabulary tree, to help the children. You can give the children an assignment to make personal dictionaries. There are online games. You can also use the game. I was in a previous presentation where they were looking at behavior management and helping students with special needs. And you can give them, children with special needs need frequent breaks. So you can use online games to reinforce the learning. At the same time, they're also having a little fun and taking a break. It can be a minute up to 5 minutes, and they play the games and so on. Google Read and Write and online dictionaries can also help your students. I encourage you to go check out these digital tools, especially Google Read and Write, because you do have students who also have difficulties with writing, both the mechanics of writing and the actual manipulation of the instrument of writing. So check out these websites to assist your student to work independently. All right, let's go to the next one. Go back to Kami. So it's for you guys to see what it looks like. Go back to, yeah. So this is what it looks like. And you can set up a free account. It's perfect for your learning. Some of you may have been exposed to Kami already. So just go into www.kamiapp.com and sign up for free, and then you can take your children to it. You can actually create a classroom in the app with your students' names and so on. Really cool. All right, let's look at comprehension. Of course, comprehension is the biggie, because if you have done all of this and the child doesn't understand what they're reading, then it makes no sense. So comprehension really is where the child actually internalizes all that they have read, all that they have learned, to understand what is it that is on the paper. So in terms of finding out if students understand what they have read, you can use videos to dialogue with their students. Have them read the passage to you. You're looking for things like prosody, the pacing and how they pronounce the words, the vocabulary, that kind of thing. So you can use videos to dialogue with your students, have them read. You can put them into breakout rooms and have them reading in groups a particular passage that will be at their reading level. You can check in every now and again in the reading room, or if you have a teacher assistant who can supervise the breakout rooms, and you have them doing independent work. You can also have them send a video update on a reading project or a reading passage that you gave them. So they can work with their parents, read the passage, send it back to you, and you have a discussion in terms of how they constructed meaning from what they have read. I'm sure some of you have been trying that already. So those are some of the things that you can do. Now, in terms of deciding what to teach, I gave you in terms of order, in terms of how you can progress in the reading continuum. But deciding what to teach, again, as I said, you start with your phonemic awareness and so on. But I'm just using this as an example. So you can have your whole group, but I think we're more likely to achieve more with the children in terms of mastery if you have small group type, those breakout rooms. And this is where your parents can come in. You can have your parents sit with the children in your breakout room. Those parents who may not have work, or maybe they might be at work and they're able to sit in and help supervise the students in the breakout rooms. So you have your whole group where you start your lesson, just like how you would do it in your regular classroom, and then you put them in their small groups. Or your rotation, you can do the same thing in your breakout feature on your learning management system or whatever platform you're using, and have them supervised with a teaching assistant. It can be a parent, and you check in every now and again. So you can, for instance, word recognition concept, you can introduce it to the whole group. So you have a whole group time. And then now in the small group, that's where you're building mastery. So you have activities, digital tools and stuff set up to help them build mastery of their word recognition. I hope it's making sense to some people. I really hope so. It's important in all of this to model success. The students need to hear the language and hear the language being spoken well. So we don't go and tell them that B says boo, and then you use the blending board and give them BAT, because you don't teach them that B says boo. So they're going to say boo at. So be careful how you present the language. You must be a model. When you read, you must also do read alouds for the children, for them to hear the language, hear what reading sounds like, the prosody, the pacing, how when we're reading a sentence that has an exclamation endpoint, how it sounds when you're asking a question, how you articulate and modulate your voice, for them to see the nuances when you ask a question versus when you're making a statement versus when you're making a command. So the children need to hear. So whether on a recorded video or a live video session, we can read a selection and model for the children. As I said, the think alouds, the SQ3 are for the older students, where you question and you fix up strategies and so on. Summarizing, making connections. They're apps like Nearpod, Peer Deck. And so these make it possible to chunk the video readings and add interactive questions to, so you can pause it, put in a question, and then the child answers and so on. And it helps them to participate more in the lesson. I hope what I'm saying kind of sparks your curiosity a little bit of how you can incorporate, because the thing is the students are being disengaged because sometimes the interest may not be there because we're not reaching them in terms of where they're at and the tools that we can use to really grab them and hold them. It's also important to monitor the students' progress because, as I said before, they can get lost. I was in a session this morning and somebody actually wrote that she was lost in the presentation, and I was watching in the chat and I saw where she eventually left. She was lost, she wasn't keeping up, and she just left. Can you imagine students? A student who has low reading ability, and what he's seeing there, he's really, really lost. But we need to have a monitoring system that can help students keep on track. I'm sure some of you, especially if you have any reading people in the group, may have heard about the double entry journal. You can do that in a Google document to see how children are keeping a pace. You can do reading conferences. There's an app called Flipgrid that you can use. You can provide video feedback. There are so many things that you can do to tap in with the students. And not only that too, I know many of us are overwhelmed with the technology, and some of you are all zoomed out, like myself. Sometimes I really feel all zoomed out. But if we can take maybe 10 minutes out of our day sometimes to check in on a student and to provide a video feedback, find out what's happening, give them a short passage to read, and tell them to just send me back a video WhatsApp or whatever to tell me what you thought of the reading. Let me hear how it sounds, that kind of thing. We have to find some way to monitor the students' progress, because they can get lost in the virtual space. They really can. All right. During synchronous learning, breakout rooms, as we mentioned before, we also have shared documents that the Google documents you can share, so students can see what other students are doing. You can share them. You can also do other interactive strategies such as reciprocal teaching. You have literature circles. You can have them in the literature circles can be in your breakout room. And you can have the students work in small groups to do different types of activities. All right, let's continue. We're winding down now. I know time is going, so we're wrapping up. So in summary, ready, Shariko? Ready for me? What you can do to adapt your teaching, just in summary, provide graphic organizers that will allow them to assist the students in organizing what they're learning. We spoke about activating prior knowledge. Use digital text. And again, I saw Mrs. Bailey using one this morning in her presentation where she had the digital book and you could turn the pages and so on. So you can use digital text. Next one. As I said, use clips of videos that emphasize or demonstrate the key concepts that you're teaching or that you have taught. You can use clips from videos to show that. And of course, children love to see their work. So I encourage you to share the students' work. by displaying it in your online classroom. Just like how you have your bulletin board in your classroom where you display the children's work, you will also have your online bulletin board where display the children's work, big them up, have your emojis and stuff to praise them and reward them and so on. So I'm going to end my presentation with a little story. It's one of my favorite stories. So if you're teaching fables, this is a nice fable for you to enjoy, and I'm sure the children are going to enjoy it too. All right, and it's called, ready, Sharika? I'm so excited. Ready? Ready, madam? This story is called The First Well.
The First Well, retold by Bookbox. There once was a small kingdom around the
So thank you, colleagues. I really hope you enjoyed that.
And Dr. Chin, we could use probably 2 or 3 minutes for questions. If you have
Yes.
questions, could you please raise
And
your hand?
I did put the link for the blending board. Someone had asked about it, so I just put it into the group.
Any
All
questions? Right. You could raise your hand.
Going once. Going twice. I know we're running late. Somebody said clear, clear, clear. Wonderful. So I know we are.
There's one.
There's one. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Santia. Santia?
Santia wanted to ask a question? Okay.
You was given access to unmute, I'm not sure.
Okay. All right.
In the chat.
Go ahead. I know there's a session, another, the discussion session is coming up. We're running a little late. So I think we probably need to wrap up now. And thank you all very much for being a part of my session. I hope you learned something, if it's even one thing. And I look forward to you using even one of the digital tool that we discuss in your classrooms. So thank you, colleagues. It was great being here. Thank you again, Sharika. I really appreciate your assistance. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and indeed your weekend. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you so very much for coming out, and thank you so much, Dr. Chin, for giving us all of this information on the strategies that we can use and the software. Thank you all very much for coming. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.